actual football. So we use that term loosely, actual football. The Hall of Fame game played last night with the starting quarterbacks on the sidelines. We'll turn our attention to the Broncos' second-round pick, Drew Lock. And Coach spent a big part of the day in the hospital.
Tough guy.
There he was. Tough guy is right. All right, so Drew Lock didn't have the greatest night there, Lewis. That's the first of a, over the head of his tight end.
Yeah, clean pocket accuracy seemed to be a little bit of a problem for him early. The timing here on the speed out, that's always something that young quarterbacks, heck, veteran quarterbacks will struggle with if they don't get enough reps with individual wide receivers. And you could tell he was just off early. The thing that really started to bother you, though, a little bit later on as well, in addition to the accuracy, was the fact that he was holding on to the ball too long, took some big hits in the pocket, the kind of things that he can't sustain going forward. But those are the things he's going to have to clean up. All these clips that you're seeing right now are the things you have to clean up. And these are the kind of hits that we're talking about. You got to get down. In regular season game, you can't take too many of those shots. But it's a Hall of Fame game. It's something he can build off, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so we'll talk about all of this a little more in just a bit. He was 7 for 11 for 34 yards. The Broncos did win the game, 14-10. And here's what head coach Vic Fangio had to say about the rookie's performance after the game.
I was hoping for more, but not surprised. He's still got a lot of work to do. Thought his accuracy wasn't clean all the time, along with his reads. But, that's to be expected. We've got 4 more games. We've got to get him ready, more ready than he is right now.
So Locke was a 4-year starter in college, and he also faced quite a bit of adversity. I wouldn't read too much into any of this. But, at the heart for a rookie quarterback, new teammates, obviously the starters aren't playing. What would you attribute most of the struggles to?
Well, listen, this is the first time, first game since him being at Missouri. You're on national television. You're obviously pumped up because everyone is watching you. And, it's the speed of the game. This isn't Missouri anymore. This is pro football. So I think all of those things are factors into maybe some of the off throws that we've seen from him. So, listen, I'm willing to give him a pass on this one because it's the first one out of the gate. But as we move on into the preseason, you want to see that incremental, improvements in these type of areas. We don't see it. You're going to start hearing whispers of, did John Elway strike out again? Because we all know he hasn't found a replacement for Peyton Manning yet.
And that's a crucial point in terms of the pressure that's on the general manager with regards to this pick, because since Peyton Manning, no team has had a worse QBR except for the Browns, Cardinals, and the Jets when it comes to the performance of Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch and the Bast, who had QBRs of 31 and 33 in 2017. So outside of Joe Flacco, the quarterbacks for a Broncos team has to show that they can actually be a difference maker outside of the weapons at running back and at wide receiver. But it's just the Hall of Fame game. It's August. Not everyone is going to be RG3 and Andrew Luck performing right out of the gate in 2012. He's not going to have the time period that Aaron Rodgers had, but certainly beyond the third preseason game, mid-season into the season, assuming that, Joe Flacco stays healthy or what have you, you want to start to see him come along, even in whatever reps he does get.
Yeah, I mean, these are some of the questions that people had of Drew coming out in the draft. This is why you slipped to the second round, because he has tremendous arm talent, and I hate that word, but it's true. You can see naturally when he throws the football. It's beautiful. It looks good. It reminds you a little bit of a guy who, quite honestly, I don't think Denver Broncos want to see this parallel drawn, but it reminds you of Jeff George a little bit. It looks like that. He has the same kind of motion. But that accuracy is a problem. Look, decision-making accuracy, all the great quarterback teachers, all the great quarterback gurus will tell you, if you can't master those two things, you're going to struggle in the NFL. And he struggled with both of them in this game. His decision-making late became something that was problematic. He took a lot of hits. The accuracy, Vic Fangio spoke to it. He has to clean them up. He has time, 4 more games. There's a lot of work left to do.
Both these teams get an extra game because they're playing in the Hall of Fame. So plenty of time for more reps. And as we stated, the starting quarterbacks, most of the starters didn't play in this game. But there was something that was really fun to watch for in the pregame. Julio Jones, he's not going to play at all this preseason, but he made a little statement with this. Look at the Falcons tweeted out Julio with bunnies. Major hops.
That's a pretty good vertical.
This is why Raheem Morris calls him Xerxes, because he is out of this world. He is a Greek god. This is nothing new. It's getting his hops, being athletic, doing what Julio does. We just don't want him to injure his ankle before he puts his signature on a new contract extension.
Exactly. So, as you know, he's looking for the contract extension. And he has company. A.J. Green, Amari Cooper, Tyreek Hill, all in the final year of their contracts. However, Julio led the league in receiving yards last season and was selected to his 5th consecutive Pro Bowl, which is part of the reason Falcons GM Thomas Dimitroff said this to NFL Network.
We want Julio here for the rest of his career, whatever that is. And, you know, I know you're going to ask me, where are you, of course? And, we're still working on it. I'm not worried about it. He's not concerned about it. We have a great relationship, not only with, of course, Julio, with CAA and Jimmy Sexton. We're communicating well. Where we approach it with Julio, we look at everything, of course. We believe that he should be the highest paid player. Sorry, I did not say player. The highest paid receiver.
I was about to say, breaking news.
The highest paid receiver in the league. And I know he believes that. It's how we're going to approach this and how we're going to get it done.
Ooh, no slip there.
Yeah.
I
made a quick correction.
But you know what? On the show yesterday, Chris Morton suggested it may not be quite as easy as they're making it sound.
Yeah. You know what? I mean, when you sit and you start projecting some contract numbers, and you know, and Mort did mention the fact that Julio is very much so concerned or aware of how this contract is paid out, how quickly he gets his money. Obviously, when you think of a guy who's 30 years old, front offices will typically then start taking it in 3-year increments and chopping it down from there the further he gets away from 30 years old. So you could project Julio to give you maximum production maybe for the next 3 years. Well, Julio's going to want all of his money in that next 3 years. And what kind of money is he going to want? Well, again, the great Chris Mortensen was sitting right here. When you start thinking about what Michael Thomas got, $61 million guaranteed, and Julio is shooting for that and maybe even more, could you be looking at a 3-year, $70 million contract, all guaranteed? It'd be amazing. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
I know if I'm Julio, that 61 is the floor. This is where we start. This is where we're starting at negotiation-wise. We're starting at $61 million because as good as Michael Thomas has been, post my numbers and come talk to me.
Oh, absolutely, because when you look at his production over the last 3 years, even though he's 30 years old, his last 3 years outdo Odell in his first 3 years. And you know how we were first touting when Odell first came into the scene, and Odell is averaging $20 million a year in the first 3 years of his contract. So that's where you are in terms of the first 3 years in that average, let alone if you're Julio Jones, you're asking for the entire contract for, to be guaranteed, because right now Kirk Cousins is the only NFL player who has his entire contract guaranteed. So you're probably asking for that. So then what becomes the amount with that, when you're looking at the fact that Matt Ryan is getting $30 million? Should Julio Jones be asking for 23, 24 at an average per year? And so let's not talk about his age, because his production outdoes Michael Thomas and Odell.
Well, his age is going to be a factor. It's going to be a factor because, again,
he did 1,677 receiving yards
and
last year.
And look, I'm not trying to argue down what he should get, but I'm talking about projecting forward. They're going to look at it realistically and say, look, we could probably get 3 years where Julio's giving us 1,300 to 1,500 yards receiving, given the fact that he's different. He's just a different athlete. So how much money can we get? He's going to want all of that money. He's not going to want any phony years in this contract.
Right.
He's going to want that money guaranteed. When I sign this is mine, because I'm going to give it to you over the next 3 years. That's what I'm saying. You could be looking at a 3 year, 70, 3 years, $75 million. I mean,
and here's
salary cap's going to keep growing.
Listen,
they may be able to absorb it on the cap because of how the cap's going to keep growing. It's not going to be a cash flow issue. Julio's going to get paid.
NFL teams don't give you NFL teams don't give you contracts for lifetime achievement awards. Okay, it's like like Lou said, it's all a projection. So Julio's going to want all his money now.
And I just want to say this: Thomas Dimitroff is talking about we have a great relationship. We have a great relationship, but make no mistake, Julio Jones is about his money when it comes to being a businessman. Remember, he did not come into reporting for camp until they adjusted his contract last year by converting some of that base salary into a bonus. I think it was about $2 million last year. Then he was participating in the activity. So he's still watching in the corner to Thomas, like, make sure you get this figure right.
Yeah, but let's not forget,
Okay.
Dimitrov, all in since 2011
Yeah.
when they traded 5 picks to go up to number
if there's a
6.
guy who's invested in a player,
Sure.
it's Thomas Dimitrov.
Yeah, and not afraid to make the big deal. too.
Absolutely.
So also, in the wake of Michael Thomas's mega deal on Wednesday, in line for a new contract, Cowboys wide receiver Amari Cooper.
It was a big contract. Yeah. I mean, good for him.
You see that impacting what you're seeking?
I mean, I don't know if it will. Hopefully. Yeah, I'm just not anxious about the contract. For some reason, it's just not on my mind. I'm more anxious about just playing football.
Cooper was such a spark for this team when he came aboard last season.